Hi, everybody. You are listening to Judging Meghan with your host, Meghan Judge. I'm going to just start with this quick thing before I introduce my friend, whose name I can't pronounce, by the way. We were starting to record, and I'm like, I've only known you for I don't even want to say how many years we've known each other, and I can't even pronounce her name. So that's really embarrassing, and I'm saying that as we record. But I want to start with this. And Marisa, I know before I introduce you that you lived in LA, so you understand the impact of the fires and all of the victims that have lost their homes or dealing with insurance. And we are about to hit the year mark. So it happened on January 7th. And I have friends that lost their homes. And I have friends that are dealing with the grief, which we will get into, because grief can come in all different kinds of forms, right? It can come in the form of loss, like losing a parent or a sibling or a child. Mm-hmm. But people don't talk about how grief has so many forms, like your house burning down and you being left with nothing, no clothes, like all of your archives of your life, photo albums, everything. And then on top of that, these people are dealing with the insurance companies saying they're not going to pay their claims or they're not going to be able to rebuild. So people are trying to figure out, can I pay a rent here and move back to a town or a place where I don't know, my dry cleaner's gone and there's no restaurants. Yeah. Or there's no, imagine your town completely burning down and then you have to move to a town because LA's spread out. So it's like a beach town, Palisades, or there was another area that was hit as well in LA. And why am I blanking on the name of the other area? It's by Pasadena. And I'm sorry, listeners, I'm forgetting the name. No, it's not Arcadia. It's anyways, this is devastating. And a lot of those people really can't afford to rebuild. So the Palisades had so much news coverage on them, but there were multiple areas that were hit and people were devastated, and they continue to be devastated a year later, almost to the day. And I just wanted to start out today saying, if you're listening and you were affected by the fires, my heart is with you. I have dear friends. I've made dear friends because I live in Manhattan Beach, and I'm so fortunate that some of my new friends I've made came from the Palisades, and some of these people are staying. But I see the grief on their faces, and I just want people to remember that if you are going through a loss, it doesn't have to be just a loss of a human being. Grief comes in all different forms, the loss of a job, whatever it is. So I'll start there. I am going to introduce Marisa Coughlan, who I butchered your name after only knowing you. Well, how many years have we known each other now?
I mean, how many years have you been together? Because
wait, that's such a dumb question. 25.
Yeah, 25. Because I basically
25 in March. Right? In March, 25 years. Okay, so you are an accomplished actress. You are an accomplished writer, and you are a badass. And I have to tell you that. And you left the LA area to move back home to Minnesota, which I'm dying to find out about. We have a mutual friend in Minnesota who's one of my college roommates, Danielle. Yeah, which is so weird, small world. But you are best known for many things. Teaching Mrs. Tingle, which I saw you in when we were young, and you were excellent. You also are known from Freddie Got Fingered, and your newest, Super Troopers. So you're shooting the second Super Troopers right now.
The third.
The third.
Yeah. The second one, I was barely in. I had a newborn. So I had basically drove through a scene and went home. But yeah, the third one we just wrapped. It was amazing.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then you wrote the movie that you have out right now with Beau Bridges, is one of your co-stars, called Blue-Eyed Girl. And my husband and I watched it and loved it. And number one, you do not age, so you need to share whatever you're doing. And just welcome to the podcast. I'm just going to say that. That was a mouthful.
Well, I'll say right back at you, girl. I think it's amazing you started this and you did it. And I'm really impressed. It's really something to just find yourself. I know it came from a place of feeling frustrated and in pain and
mental health. Yeah.
Turn it into something beautiful and helpful and let it grow as much as it's grown. Like, I'm just incredibly proud of you. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you. I adore you.
Our point in life. I feel like a lot of people, that's why I wrote the movie, get like give up vibes of just like, well, I'm already 40. Like, forget it. I'm done. And you're like the exact case in point of why I wrote the movie, that it's like, guys, it's not too like, no, just do the thing. And like,
it's so true. And also it's like, well, I'm going to say for the listeners too. So we know each other because you dated my husband and then became really good friends. So you weren't obviously dating when we met, but you had shot a movie with Ron.
Yeah.
And then I remember meeting you and Amy. There's like a whole crew, and Ashley, you're like all your best friends from like USC college, whatever. And I was like, so jealous. I'm like, they all hate me. And you know how girls are at that age where you're like, whatever, the ex. But then over the years, especially like Amy, I've kept in touch a little bit with Ashley, Elisa. Yeah. It's like such a nice group of girls and so supportive of each other that you guys all really have remained friends. And Ron loves you all too.
Beyond,
really.
I can see how we were probably a tough gang to infiltrate at the time because we were just like inseparable and this little posse. But yeah, I mean, I never get to see Amy. She's in London. I really don't get to see Elisa that much. I see Ashley more because if I go back to LA for work, I get to see her, and I talk to Ashley 10 times a day. But they're a very loyal, good group of friends. I mean, with like recent stuff when I've been posting or whatever, and do you remember Julie Pleck at all? I've had a few friends from back in the day too be like, it's so heartwarming to see that like you have the exact same best friends that you've had for 30. I mean, I went to Paris with Amy and Elisa in the spring and was posting those pictures. And they're like, I love seeing the exact same faces that I've seen, because there's something really comforting about that in life to have that.
It's so true. And as we age, my best friends from growing up, I just sadly had to go home for a funeral. And it's like picking up where we left off whenever we see each other. Yeah. And these are like my lifelong friends that I've had since I was a little girl, so it's special. And I think if you're listening and you're female and you understand what it's like to have old friends, and especially good friends and solid friends that support you, and there's no jealousy, and that's rare, right?
It
is.
Do
you agree?
It is.
Yeah.
In fact, the night that Blue Eyed Girl came out, Amy's in London, and she's like, I need to know how to access it. I need to watch it immediately. And then she just like play by play was texting me. I'm sobbing. I'm bawling right now. This guy, he does remind me of your dad. It's true. I'm sobbing. Like, she just was like so supportive and sweet and like right in there day one. And just, also I think just regardless of how she would have felt had she been an impartial viewer, like the fact that I did it and whatever, she was just unbelievably supportive and all in.
Well, I think that like we're going to get into your story right now, but I think we talked a little bit about this when we just started, but also before, is women and aging in the business in Hollywood, and just being like, we're meant to feel like, okay, like you're in your late 40s, like 50s, 60s, however old you are. Yeah. It's time for you to like move out to pasture. You're done.
You can quietly disappear now. Bye-bye.
You can quietly disappear and just be done. But we're not the Golden Girls. No. Although B. Arthur was probably our age when they shot that. I don't know if you know that.
Memes when they like tell
it's
you
so depressing.
The same age as like Michelle Pfeiffer or whatever, and you're like, times have changed. But I just saw a thing too about how they like, I don't even know who it was. You know how you scroll through reels and then you're like, it goes away and you're like, wait, how do I get that back? I don't know how that works, but I wanted to save it and send it to people because it was about the 40s being like officially rebranded and how it's like been a successful rebrand because it was what's that actress's name that's pregnant right now that's like mid 40s and gorgeous?
Oh, Sienna. Okay.
Miller.
What's her last name?
Sienna Miller in a press line with her younger boyfriend with her little baby belly in this cute, sexy dress. And she's like 45 or whatever. And they were like, we've officially rebranded the 40s. No one's even batting an eyelash that she's pregnant at whatever age, you know? And it's like, she's sexy and viable. And they're like, and we're well into rebranding 50s, which I'm like, you know, I'll take it.
I think it's, and again, I'm sorry to go off before I get like into your story, but I think this is a really important topic for listeners or anybody watching is it's, you know, we have so much potential. Men aren't told to stop writing or stop acting. I mean, they're all acting like Robert Redford did a film a few years ago into his, I think he was like in his 80s. Yeah. And Jane Fonda, like we are physically looking better because we have the resources to do it. We also are feeling better about ourselves and not being told, well, we are sadly being told to like shut up, but we're not listening is what I'm saying. There's some that are, and they can stick with that. But the ones that like want to teach our daughters that, you know, you can keep going. You can have 3 careers. You can be a mom and a working actress and move away and then come back to LA and write and do all the things that you've done. So
it is ultimately, I do think that like the ultimate skill set you have to pick up is the art of reinvention, of just like, okay, time to pivot again. Time to put, you know, because you're just always like, there's a new chapter that makes you redefine how you're going to live your life. Motherhood being a pivotal one, but it doesn't always have to be motherhood. But, you know, like I just feel like constantly reinvent, and like this movie being the next version of that, because you're like, okay, the writing was great. You know, obviously motherhood has kept me pretty busy. The acting was great before that, but then this was kind of trying to do the next chapter, which is merging them all. But I'm getting ahead of us.
Okay. So let's, for my listeners, and if you're listening, like I said, you're an extremely talented actress. You had a career, you moved to LA to go to school to USC, correct?
Yep.
And grew up in Minnesota, right? Yep. And then came to LA, started a career young, and were very successful. And the amount of people that you and I know, just me living in LA and knowing, having a husband that was a working actor for 30 years, the amount of people that have a career like you have and are still continuing to have is like, what's the percentage of people that actually?
Well, like, I don't know what category you're putting me in, but I don't know that I belong.
It's very, very small. No, give yourself credit.
Of actually making it and making money as an actor every year is like less than 1%. But I'm not in that category. I mean, I started writing and I've made a living writing a lot of years that I didn't make a living as an actor, and vice versa. You know, it's been like, I was grateful to wear 2 hats, because that one hat is very unsustainable. I mean,
correct.
Yeah.
But I just have to give you kudos for, you know, at that young age, being an up and coming actress, being on like the cover. I mean, I remember you were like on the cover of magazines and doing all the, right? And so
they're like, who's that?
They're like, hey, mom. So tell me a little bit about that. Like your career starting out, you were on Dawson's Creek, I think. You did a bunch of stuff. Tell me about that.
It wasn't on Dawson's, but because I ended up breaking into that Kevin Williamson world. Basically, when I met Ron, it was like sort of the first job I got. I mean, I'd done like a guest star or 2 of little sort of just sad, like victim of the week things. And then I guess I was a senior in college, and I booked that thing with Ron, and it was Ashley, Ron, and I met on the plane to Florida.
Wait, what was it called for my listeners?
Our Son the Matchmaker.
Okay, thank you.
And it's a real life story about a couple that got pregnant young, split up, and then their son was adopted and grew up. And then when he was an adult and like a priest, maybe, he found his parents, and then they fell back in love, and then they got married. So Ron,
and was it Lifetime? Was it a Lifetime movie?
It was back in the day when they did movies of the week, like CBS would do a movie of the week.
Yeah.
So Ron and I played the young version, and then Ann Jillian was the older version of me, if you remember Ann Jillian, and I was the guy that was Ron. And then Ashley played my best friend, and so needless to say, they cast well, because we all became lifelong friends, which is excellent. And I mean, like I said, Ashley's like my sister. I talk to her all day. But then, shortly after that, I ended up booking Teaching Mrs. Tingle, kind of out of nowhere, because I was just struggling like everybody else, getting back to like random guest stars. And I was very close to wrapping it up. I know everyone says that, but like literally my dad was pressuring me to go to business school. And I was like, I guess this is maybe just like not a feasible life choice. And then randomly out of nowhere, was called in to do that Exorcist scene in the movie. For those people who have not seen that movie, there's an Exorcist scene that's kind of insane. And so this actress, I played a high school-y actress who just decides because she's bored to act out the Exorcist. And in retrospect, I think all those girls went in and they were just like, ooh, what a lovely day for an exorcist, like being cute and sexy. And I went in and was like, just like demonic voices rolling my eyes back in my head. And they were all just shell shocked by me. And then I left the room being like, I think I've just traumatized an entire room of people. And then I didn't do anything for like a month. And then randomly they called, they're like, they really like you. They want you to go back in. And then needless to say, I got the job and whatever, which was extremely intimidating because it was opposite Helen Mirren and Katie Holmes, who was at the peak of Dawson's Creek celebrity. And so that was amazing. And then I ended up doing, from that, like another Kevin Williamson show called Wasteland. And then I did this movie Gossip and, Freddie Got Fingered, as you mentioned, and then Super Troopers. It was all kind of in a good, like, run of things. Which is,
was that like in a chunk of like 5 years? Like how many years?
Yeah, it was probably like 25 to 24 to 30, maybe.
Okay. And then for my listeners also, did you have a history? Because you that scene, if you go back and watch Teaching Mrs. Tingle is so good. But did you take acting classes? Were you a theater major in college?
I went into USC to do the BFA program, which is like nothing but theater. And then I ended up leaving that department and I guess I had a minor in theater when I graduated and a major in French, but don't quiz me too much on that right now. The French is rusty, but so yes, but I don't know. I think sometimes my brain just doesn't think in like baby steps. I just it literally didn't occur to me to do like a cute version of that scene.
No, it was great. And obviously it's proof of, for young actresses or whoever it is to really be authentic. Yeah. And you were authentic in that. And there's so many copycats of people that watch. I mean, the business has evolved, as you know, and changed from when my listeners know I moved to LA to try and act, and that went fantastic. Joking.
Well, by the way, it doesn't really go fantastically for anyone. I literally don't know anyone. Even the people that look like they've got it all figured out. If you actually sit and talk to them, they're like, no, it's been horrible. Like 80% of the time. It's just that you're remembering the 2 jobs I actually like that actually went somewhere, it's a grind.
It's a horror. So our youngest wants to go and Bron and I are like, please God, why? Because it's such a horribly hard business to break into, number one. And it's constant rejection. Yeah. And so you have to be so thick-skinned. And I think for young women, especially, we already had our insecurities, right?
And so on. It may be it's probably not any better, but as you may know, I was a part of that whole Harvey Weinstein thing. And that was one of probably 3 situations that were just blatant, like hideously blatant.
I did not know that. Are you comfortable talking about that?
Yeah, I did an interview about it a couple years ago and kind of like came out when all the hubbub happened. I was like, there are so many people that know that it happened to me, but then I was never public about it. Regretfully now, that I was like, I guess I just should say something because I'm going to feel kind of creepy if I don't say anything about it. So yeah, when I'd just come off of Teaching Mrs. Tingle and Wasteland, and they were both Miramax. And I went to Pane Vino. I'm sure you remember that place.
Yeah, I do. We love that place.
Spent a lot of time there. Yeah. And I was at dinner with the girls, basically. And there was a table across the way. And it had Ben Affleck and Matt Damon and Weinstein. And I had just come off of all these things that I was like, and I was just a very earnest in many ways young lady. So I was like, I'm going to go say hello to Mr. Weinstein, who's given me these opportunities. And so I was like, hi, blah, blah. I'd met him once before. And he was very gracious at the table and whatever. And then we were leaving and the waitress was like, oh, you don't have to pay anything. Mr. Weinstein picked up the bill. I'm like, oh, well, that was really nice. So I wrote him a note to like Miramax in New York City, thanking him for the dinner because they were already gone by then. And then like 3 days later, I get a call on my cell phone that's like, hello, I have Harvey Weinstein calling for you. And I literally thought it was one of my friends like messing with me. I'm like, okay. Anyway, it was Harvey. And he was like, I'd love to get together. Next time I'm in LA, I'm impressed by your manners and blah, blah, blah. I'd love to get together and talk about your career. We've already put you in a few things and we're big believers in your talent. Let's get together and figure out what next steps should be. And I was like, oh my God, like this is like what? And I went to the peninsula like everybody else did. And I went up there with my little notebook of ideas for like movies that would be cool to work, to develop. I mean, I just didn't see it coming. And I walked into the suite and literally like an army of people left. Like it didn't occur to me at all because back in the day, you'd have a lot of meetings in hotel rooms. It's like kind of creepy now that I think about it. But typically you'd go in and it was like a producer, a casting director, they were doing it there out of, the sake of it was of ease because some town or whatever. But I got there and like literally 30 assistants left the suite. And it was a huge, like an apartment-y suite. And then it was just Harvey and myself at this little table talking. And to be honest, he's charming when he wants to be, right? So we're just chatting and charming. And then all of a sudden it just turned and it was like, hey, you know what? Like I feel like you and I are becoming friends and my friends and I like to give each other back rubs. Do you want to go in the other room and do that and give me a back rub? I was like, no. And it just was, I can't even tell you how upsetting,
scary,
terrifying. And I'm such a natural people pleaser. And I wasn't going to do any of that stuff. So I was like, I have a boyfriend and I just pinned it all on the boyfriend. And I'm like, I just don't feel comfortable. I feel like it would be weird. And he was just like relentless about it. But I very firmly was like, I'm not going to do that. And it was clear the implications and whatever. So I left, but then he like pursued me. He basically, cause I didn't agree to do anything physical with him. I think it like was enticing to him. So then he basically tried to make me his girlfriend and was like, why don't you fly to New York and we'll go ice skating at the park? And he like romanticized. It was really terrible. I
had no idea. I'm so sorry. I like my heart goes out to you.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea.
I feel incredibly grateful because I don't even know who to credit. Minnesota upbringing, my parents, I had the wherewithal to be like, it's not going to make me feel good if I have to do these things to get the jobs he's dangling. And he was dangling jobs. I mean, it was just like, I want you to be the lead in my next movie. Here's the script. Here's the thing. I've called your agents, blah, blah, blah. Let's go to another dinner. It was just like very transactional, but I thank God had something that was like, no, but obviously he forced himself upon many, 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 many people. He did not.
And people you knew too.
People I knew well. Of course, I had no idea at the time. I thought I was like the only one. And I wish I had shouted it from the rooftops because I would have saved other people from that. But I didn't know. And I thought it was me. And I felt like all people, you feel self-conscious and like, did I like imply to him that that's what, I mean, it was just, I was very young and it was very, very stressful. But finally I was like, it's never happening. And then they pulled the movie offer and all, whatever. And then I never worked for Miramax again, like as of that day.
I honestly did not know that you were, and for my listeners and anybody else, I mean, this is so common and it reminds me of the Epstein case. And these women, like as women, were doubted, and we I got myself in situations like that when I was young and trying to be an actress. And I think back on it, thank God, like nothing happened.
Yes.
Because I put myself in such stupid situations often.
Me too.
And I know you're a mother, which we're going to get into.
Two girls like you. I mean, two girls. And you're just like, how do I even begin to prepare you? And like, you want to believe it's a little better after the Me Too and after all the uproar. I mean, James Toback, I don't know if you remember him. He did it to me too. I showed up to his hotel room again, thinking like, this is just, there's going to be a 20 people in the room for this audition. And it's just James Toback in a room that literally looked like, I'm sorry, this is maybe too graphic, but looks like an orgy just ended. Like they all just clothes and trays of food. And he's like in a robe. I was like, what am I doing in here? And he was so creepy, and he didn't touch me, but it was the creepiest time I've ever interchanged with anyone besides the Harvey thing. But it's like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. I mean, LA, you know,
it's like we think that we were started and I'll end this subject in a second because I don't want to waste time, but I don't think this is a waste of time because I think I have so many female listeners that are mothers and have daughters. Yes. And it's part of why I'm so passionate about like what's going on right now is that we really have to teach our daughters to stand up for themselves. And, you know, we were making progress with Me Too and all of that stuff. And now it kind of feels like things are taking a shift. Yeah. That we have to stand up for what's right and continue to fight, you know, because like we came so far. I know to be able to be where we are now, or we were. And now it feels like men are starting to take some kind of horrible powers back. And it's thing is not. Yeah, it's possible. Really, really terrifying and scary. And, you know, I put myself in situations too. And I look back as cocktailing in Hollywood, trying to pursue acting and went to parties and like gross men. Like I just think about all the
miracle
stuff.
That nothing really bad happened because we're just running around. God, what were we doing?
I don't know.
In the very beginning, I didn't even have cell phone. I mean, I was just like out.
Like we had like pagers. What are we going to do? Totally. Like page somebody like 555 come get me?
Like we're literally from the 1800s. But like when I was 18, 19, I had an agent that would call me send me a message to my beeper. I'd have to go like find a payphone, which doesn't even exist. By the way, I had to use a Thomas guide to get around LA.
I remember those. Yes. Yes. That's how old we are. But
we are dinosaurs.
And we had like flip phones when they first came out. Yeah.
But even that, I was like a junior in college, you know? So for a long time there, I was just roaming the streets of Hollywood, just like very naive.
Alone. Like I remember leaving places by myself. Totally. Anyway, again, I had no idea, like I didn't know any of that happened. And I, you know, have lived in LA a long time and I know people that were affected by that case. I know an Epstein survivor as well. And I want people to know that, you know, we have to, especially in these times, teach our girls that don't ever put yourself in situations because where you go in a room or it never ends well. And
like I said, and last thing I'll say is I do deeply regret not being more vocal. I just was so naive. And it was at a time when it's not like I had an agent or anyone around me that knew about it that was like, we need to go and like report this. Everyone's like, just shh, it's fine, you know? And I think that I was young and so overwhelmed by the whole thing and confused, but I wish I was, like I said, really lucky. And I feel like it was not the same for so many women. And I just wish I had screamed it from the rooftops. But
also, and then I'll stop here. Sorry for this long-winded conversation, but I think it's important. I think that the women that did come forward and were vocal, like Rose McGowan, or I'm trying to think, there were several of them. Yeah. And then he destroyed their careers. Yeah. You know, so that's the thing. It's like we're taught to, if you're too loud and you're too vocal, like forget about it, you're done. And to work as hard as you did to make it in the movies that you did and have it taken away is a deep fear because you're, like we said in the beginning, it's like 1% of the population works. Yeah. You know, not even.
Kind of was derailed by this because the second I said no, he was like punitive. And so whatever trajectory I was on in that world, which as you know, it's all about who you know and who you've worked with, and who's going to use you again and whatever, was just like over, but whatever. I'd rather not.
Well, I'm so happy that you shared that and we talked about it, but I want to focus now on the piece of your life, which is you went on to work, and then you made the conscious decision to leave LA and have and get married. Is Steven your high school sweetheart? I can't remember.
No, but we grew up like knowing each other. He's actually my best friend from high school's brother. So we were sort of like always in the same orbit, and just sort of like already family in a way, because he's one of 6. So I was really close to kind of all of his sisters and his parents. And, you know, like when my dad died, which was sudden, as you know, he hopped on a plane and flew out and was at the funeral. Like we were in each other's, you know, whatever. And then, no, we reconnected when we were early 30s, I guess. But he's also from here, obviously. So it was sort of not necessarily like a given that we would do this, but it's more obvious given that we're both from here. But yeah, it was, you know, it was a big decision. It was a big move.
Because you were working at the time. So for you to have a career,
I was, but I had I was 3 kids deep when we moved back, and I had 3 kids in 4 years. So no, I wasn't really, I had 4 kids in 7 years. So I was pregnant or nursing or, you know, coming down from maternity weight, you know, all those things for like 7-8 years, you know, which really makes it hard to be like, okay, I feel great, I'm going to go audition. You know, you're just not. So but I did start writing in there, which was like, you know, I was pretty busy writing once I had Finn, my oldest. So I was busy doing that. And I was very nervous about coming here. And then, you know, it's less so now since COVID, but still it's of course who you run into, and like, oh my God, I was at a party and I saw so-and-so and we should get lunch. And it sounds cliche, but it is kind of like that. So I was like, well, if I'm here, I'm never going to see anybody. And how am I going to even keep relationships up that I've built for 25 years of, you know, being in this business? But it's been okay. Like I was able to pitch things from here and sell them. And then COVID happened, and now everyone's pitching virtually and no one meets in real life. So that part is not as bad. But it's been wonderful to be here and to have my kids raised here. We have tons of family here. You know, my husband's dad was getting sick when we moved back, so they got to have some time with him. You know, there's a lot to recommend it, but it's like all things, you know, I do miss parts of LA, and now my kids are 16 and 15, the older 2, and they're like, why did you move us back here?
Yeah, to be freezing cold, but you know, there's a part of me that envies you, you know, I was just back home because I grew up in Maryland. Yeah. And when you're home, you know, there's so much, and I love LA. I live in Manhattan Beach, so we're kind of out. We live in this bubble of a beach community, but it's a lot of like, you know, transplants, people come from all over to be working in this business. There's a lot of phony stuff that goes on. It's a lot of BS.
It's hard to
not everyone. It's hard to read people, and if they want the wrong thing from you. And so whenever I go home, I feel safe. Yeah. And I feel loved, and I feel like my friends, like I said, I was just home, and my friends are like, well, we love you no matter what. We don't care that happened or this happened. Yeah. And that's a refreshing feeling. So to be able to go home.
So many, such a vast sense of community here, which is like really informed making that movie a lot, you know, because we really had a community kind of rally behind us to do it. And there was excitement and just a lot of positive kind of love and support for us. And I feel a huge sense of community in LA too, but it's different. It is different. And there's a sense of like gypsiness out there. It's like, you know, people are artists, they're in, they're out. And here there's a rootedness that, you know, hopefully we're able to give our kids and stuff, which is nice.
Okay. So let's talk about the movie, because my husband and I watched it like a couple weeks ago. It's called Blue-Eyed Girl. For those of you that are listening or watching it, you can watch it on Amazon. It's out now. It's with Beau. Wait, is it which Bridge?
Jeff Bridges. Yep.
Oh, Beau Bridges. Sorry, why am I getting the Bridges? But I grew up being obsessed with them, by the way. He's the movie,
the greatest guy ever. I'm obsessed with him.
And like the fact that like, I'm blown away by actors that are aging and they're just still so with it and can remember read a script. And because it's hard as we get older, like looking at a script and learning lines, I can't even imagine doing that now.
He's amazing. He's truly amazing. But he memorized, that long monologue about the woman on the train. He memorized that like the day we made him the offer. And then he would go to like dinner parties and tell that story like it was his story, just to like see the reaction in the room. So then when we got to the week of like the month of production, we started making trims, and like we sent him the new version of the script where it was like, we just don't have that much time. So we're just going to make this cut, that cut. And he was like, sent it back with like all the things. He's like, I'd like you to put this back in and this back. He was like, and I don't know if it was because age wise, he's like, I've memorized it this way. He will not be taking out random sentences here and there, or if he was just attached to it or whatever. But yeah, he's amazing.
Well, also he's like a lifelong actor. Like he and his brother grew up in the business they worked when they were toddlers. Even,
literally,
correct?
I looked up on IMDb when we hired him just to see, I don't know what I was looking up. His first credit was the year he was born. His first credit was when he was like a month old. So yes, he's been in it, but what a testament to the business done in the right way, because man, is he just like salt of the earth, an amazing husband. I don't know that I know anyone who speaks as highly and gushes about their wife the way he does. It is so endearing. You just can't even, they've been married 50 years and he's just like, you see it, the way he looks at her, the way he talks about her. He came out for a film festival and he got up in front of the whole audience, and it was like a moment where he could have talked about himself. He could have talked about anything else. And he spent the whole time gushing about his wife, who was just sitting there like, why are you talking about me right now? But he's a really nice, wonderful guy. I'm so lucky he did it.
It's refreshing to see that too in this business, right? So tell me, because the movie is like loosely based on things that have happened in your own life, correct?
Kind of, yes.
Okay, there's a few things, like the Minnesota piece.
Yeah, it's inspired by the move back. Like, right, we moved back here and it's weird. Like, we moved back and all of a sudden I was going to the places that I used to go with my dad, but in the interim, he had passed away. I was going to the places I used to go with my high school boyfriend, and he's like a full grown up who lives on the East Coast with his whole family. But you just have like this weird, like, I am me now with my life, but also I feel also like the 16-year-old that used to be here, because I've hardly been in this part of the world since then. And it just brings up like all the thoughts about, your life. And okay, I had this on my, vision board and all that stuff. And so it's kind of about like I know you talk a lot about grief and loss. And at the beginning you were talking about that. And like you said, like, of course, part of it is I did lose my dad, and I touch on that in the movie for sure. It's heavily about these three sisters and their relationship with each other and their dad. But also I think we all grieve kind of what could have been, right? Because you don't know, like there are so many versions of our lives that could have existed, and we make our choices and we choose this career and this college and this partner, and you know what I mean? And your life develops into what it is. But coming back, it was like a weird sci-fi moment of like
the nostalgia piece.
Yes.
Is like a huge, like when I think it's important that you talk about that and you bring that up for listeners that may have lost a parent, especially, I know your dad, you were like in your 20s when you lost your dad. Okay. I remember, because I remember your lovely mom, who, by the way, we saw in the movie, made an appearance. Yeah, she looks great. Tell her hi.
She was kind of the Where's Waldo of that movie. She was like a background extra in like almost every scene. But yeah,
I'll have to rewatch it. She's so cute. But I remember when you and I met, because I lost my dad really young. I was 13. And the nostalgia piece of losing, I think specifically a father.
Yeah.
You're also Irish like I am.
Yeah.
So you brought that. I love that you like kind of brought, there was a piece of that in the movie.
I did.
Yeah. So your dad was very proud of his Irish heritage, I'm guessing, like mine.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm born on St. Patrick's Day. So that like redoubled his excitement about Irishness.
Yeah. It's like, it was like a thing in my family too, but I think for listeners too, it's like when you when you lose a parent and you have all these milestones, like your wedding, for example,
yeah,
or like you have your first baby,
yeah,
and you think of, God, like like, why aren't they here? Like, I wish that they were here.
You're crying, I'm crying. Like
I'm crying already.
It's
I cry all the time. Yeah. And so, and then as they get older and they hit like the milestones, I don't know with your daughters, if things remind you of like, oh, I'm going to cry. Like, oh, my, like Sophie was that age. Like I lost my dad at 13, but there were like things that I think of with Sophie that I think, oh, like Ron reminds me of my dad in this like little thing, you know, like, I don't know if you feel that way too.
Well, I feel it because, also like right before my dad died, he was not an animal person per se. He was like kind of could take or leave, like dogs and whatever. But I got 2 dogs, and because they were my dogs, he decided he was obsessed with them. So he would drop by like every day with like care packages on my front steps of like, I stopped by this bakery and I bought you this baguette and I got the dog some treats and I got this. And he just was like, I'm an only child too. So like my parents split when I was young. So I was on the receiving end of everything he had, you know? But, so I just always think like, oh, he would be such a devoted grandpa. I mean, if he was like that with my dogs, you know, he would just be like, and my kids, as they achieve certain things or they are struggling with certain things or, you know, or when I'm struggling with certain things or Steven, I'm like, you know, Steven, his dad died too, and he'll be going through something. And I'm like, I'm so mad. I'm going to cry.
No, it's okay. I cry all the time.
I know. How do you, I would be a mess if I did this all the time. I'm so mad that you can't just pick up the phone and call him and be like, what do you think? Like, cause he was my buddy too. He was my friend, and he knew Steven a little bit, but they would be like best friend. It's just hard. It is exactly what you said. Like, and so coming home and going like over by his old house and in the places we used to go, like, forget it. I was a mess.
I think though too, in the film, I don't want to give anything away, but you know, an aging father and like all the things that, you know, that I don't want to give anything away because I really want all of you to watch it. But you know, your father and your character in the movie, your father is aging and, you know, going through it. Yeah. Which everybody does. We all age and we all go through it, right? Yeah.
Well, he's grieving because in the movie, our mom had died, and he's really been like very
the love of his life,
lonely and grieving for loss for a while in the movie.
Well, so I was going to say that I say to the listeners a lot that grief is a lifelong process.
Yeah.
So like it's okay to feel nostalgic and go home. And a lot of times when you watch, at least with me, if I watch a movie, I cry because I might be reminded of something. And I think it's okay to be like that. I think it actually helps and it's healing, right? I
think so too. I used to be someone who didn't cry. And I think it was because I grew up in a situation maybe when I was young where I didn't feel like I should be, I don't know. It was complicated, but I didn't cry much. I was very people pleasing and like, I got this. We're good. Everyone's okay. And I cry more now than I ever did then. And I consider that I'm proud of it.
Did you, because you wrote this script, which is amazing. Did you find yourself crying a lot? Because I'm writing a book right now. Oh. And well, it's taking forever. But it's because I know every time I'm going to write, it's emotional for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to cry 9 times out of the 10 days that I'm going to sit down and make myself write. So did you have a hard time with this script, like thinking about things and incorporating and, you know, I could tell in the movie because you shot it in Minnesota. Yeah. Whoever's house that is, by the way, that giant mansion
that's house insane.
Can I have that, by the way?
But it's so weird. Honestly, if you were in that house, you wouldn't even want it. I mean, where it is and the lake and the views and all that is like next level. However, the house itself, well, you remember when we opened the front door and it's like, caw-caw. I mean, it's like echoey and creepy. It was just a very weirdly decorated.
Like marble. Yeah.
It was weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think what happened was I wrote it kind of like stream of consciousness. Like I just started writing. I'd get up early and just write it. It was more to just purge and whatever. And then I didn't touch it. And I literally kind of forgot about it. And then I picked it up one day because the guy who ended up directing the movie was like, have you ever written a movie? And I said, well, yeah, I've like written one. Mostly I write TV. Not because I prefer TV over movies, but just because. And so I dusted it off and I read it. And in that instance, I did what you just said. I cried because I put it down. I finished it and I'm like, I feel like I just got to run into my dad because it's so much his voice, like his, like, not everything, but aspects of it are just so like little things he would say to me or whatever that were in there. And I'm like, it was so weird. Like, I feel like I just ran into him, but yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to say things out loud. For me, writing helps though. It helps to get it out of my subconscious and into the paper.
It's a form of therapy.
For sure.
And there were things I could tell. And I like, when you're watching something and you go, oh, the ex-boyfriend piece of it, and not to give away the plot, but, we all go back as people and we think, oh, what could have been? What would my life have been like if I would have married my high school boyfriend? And I do it. Like I go back to DC sometimes. I mean, poor Ron, I know you're going to listen to this. I love you so much. But
hey, my husband produced the movie. Okay. So clearly.
Yeah. So Stephen knows, but it's like it's human nature to think, totally. What would my life have been like if I would have made this decision instead of that decision, right? That's what life is. It's a series of decisions.
It is. It's sliding doors. It's like, I almost went to school in Chicago and didn't go to SC at all. And like, what would that have looked like? And would I ever have become an actress? And there's so many versions, but as you know, in the movie, I don't want to give it away either, but in the end, hopefully you're like, well, I don't want to give it away.
Yeah, you don't have to give it away, but it does make you, while I was watching it, stop and think about the decisions that we make in life. And I know in your real life, you're an only child, but I have to tell you, there was funny stuff in it too. Like the two sisters, like they were funny both in their own ways. So that was casted brilliantly. Whoever casted it did a really good job. I loved that. The one sister kind of reminds me of myself and how I'm looked at in my family as the like extravagant, like, Alex, like crazy. Yeah. Like who's like in faux fur all the time. Like I picture her wearing that kind of, that's how I am in my family.
She was amazing. I mean, both of them were amazing. We got really lucky with casting, which I think had a lot to do with the fact that Beau came in. And once Beau was the first person we offered it to, and once he said yes and was like, I'm going to fly to Minnesota and do this thing with you, it made other people lean in more because it's hard. If you're like a little movie in Minnesota, people are like, is this real?
Well, he's also a legend. I mean, he's a legend in the business. So that definitely helps. Yeah. So I need to ask you, because I really want people to watch this movie, but because I talk a lot about loss and grief, and we've talked a lot about your dad, and I might make you cry again, so I apologize for that. But I believe in signs. I talk about them all the time. Yeah. I say I was having a conversation. My job at my daughter's school is working hot lunch. Yeah. So the people I was doing it with yesterday are just awesome. And my sign that I lost my best friend, but my sign that my best friend is with me is a monarch butterfly. Yeah. So I'm telling this story yesterday about a mom that I know, actually, Jen Levy, whose son tragically died in a drunk driving accident. And
a lot, actually.
Yeah. So we were talking about her, and all of a sudden I saw this monarch fly over my head because I started to get emotional. And I was telling the two girls that were working with me who were actually lost their houses in Palisades fires. Okay. That, all about signs and how I know that the signs, and they're just in the next room. And I really believe that, because at that exact second that I was talking about this, a butterfly, like the butterfly, and it's not even the season for monarchs right now because it's cold.
Crazy. Yeah.
Flew right by me. So that long-winded story was to ask you, do you have a sign that your dad is with you?
You know, what's funny about that is that I have such a specific story about this. It's kind of nuts, but it's about my grandma, who's my dad's mom, because she was kind of like when my parents split up. I spent a lot of time with her too. Like I'm super close to both my parents, really, really, really close to that grandma. And she died when I was 11, almost 12. And it was kind of like losing a parent. I mean, it was like really very traumatic. But she lived on a lake and was really, really into blue herons. You know that bird?
Yeah, the bird. Yeah.
And so she used to always like come and have me look when one would go by, whatever. So after she died, I would always, whenever I was talking about her, I felt like a blue heron would like come out of nowhere and fly by or be sitting perched on a dock. And it became like my symbol for her. And then I used to be really involved in these church camps when I was in high school. And they asked me to go speak to this group in the city here in Minneapolis, a huge group, like 150 kids, about my faith journey and so I decided to share about that. And so I explained about my grandma's faith and my faith and how she passed and how the blue heron was really like sort of informed my feelings about her and faith and whatever. It's over. They all get up and leave the room. They walk across the hall. It's the dead of winter. And there's a huge classroom across the hall in this like basement church thing. And there's a blue heron standing like, I don't know, 2 feet from this huge panel window staring straight in. And they all left this room and then they all come flooding back in. I'm still in there. They're like, did you go in that room? Like, but I just still saw a friend a month ago maybe. And he's like, can I ask you a question? I'm like, what? He's like, do you remember that blue heron thing when we went to that church thing? I'm like, yeah. He's like, did that really happen? Because I tell people that story. So anyway, very much so. And then, you know, I touched on this earlier today, but when we started making the movie, I would never normally bring this up, but I know that you really deal in like trauma and grief. We had 4 friends pass away in a month as we were going into production on the movie. And it was so unbelievably traumatic. I can't even tell you. But 2 of them, one of them was my good mom friend and her husband. And I started going for walks like in like really like trauma grief. Like I was just all of us, because they were in a small plane that went down. It was like a very just like, what are the chances of this happening? Mm-hmm. Our kids it's just so awful. I can't even tell you. And anyway, I would see a deer. I saw a deer one day when I was walking, like right after it happened, a male and a female, and they stopped and just were like staring at me. And then the buck ran off and the female stayed and kept, because it was really my friendship with her. And every time I ever see a deer now, I'm like, oh, there's Becca. There's Becca, guys. My kids know, like, it's like now our mutual friends all are like, Marisa, I saw a deer this morning. Like, anyway, so I do believe in it big time.
I mean, and they say too, animals, you know, I mean, I think it's so important. I think a lot of people come to this podcast because they are it is the holidays. This is a really hard time of year. Everyone, like, go easy on yourselves. Life is a series of challenges and loss. Like, sadly, we're going to have to continue to go through losses in our lives, you know, and it's like, once you've gone through one, you realize, well, when's the next one? And it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah.
And I love that you brought up the faith piece of it, because for me, faith is a big part of my life. And, you know, like, faith looks different for everybody. And I don't ever try to push my faith on anybody, especially with like what's going on these days. But I do pray a lot, and I talk to God, and I talk to my dad, and I talk to my sister and Julie and all the people I've lost. And I think that the movie especially touched me because it reminded me of like the value of that you can always go home.
Yeah.
And you can always like have your friends and your family.
Yeah.
And sorry, everyone. You made me cry today. Thank you so much.
You made me cry like 6
I cry all the time. I'm so embarrassed. But that you have to like tell people that you love them and appreciate them. And we're all different. Like in the movie, you have the two sisters and they're totally different. I happen to have two sisters and all three of us are totally different. And so I think it's important and that we remember that you can go home. And if you don't have a home or you don't have something, it's never too late. So just circle back on what we were talking about in the beginning is you can always start over. Yeah. You can always start over. And if you're struggling with any of these things, depression, your mental health, loss of a job, there's other things. I mean, let's be real. 25 years ago, did you think you and I would be sitting here and we wouldn't even know what in God's name a podcast was?
No, I don't think we mentioned that. No, I know.
And I'm like, one day we're going to be sitting here like talking on a podcast and be interviewing you. And you would be like, crazy. What are you talking about? It's crazy. Know?
But I think that even though like one of the things I tried to address in the movie was that like, you know, there's so many like acute moments of grief or depression or highs and lows. But one of the things that gets me about middle age is that analogy I made about the car wash of like the monotony sometimes of just like midlife.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of what I was saying before. Like you kind of sometimes grieve like what you thought it was going to be or what it once was or whatever. And that's the part that I was trying to, at least with my character in the movie and with maybe an audience, also be like, okay, it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have, because I hear people say like, well, whatever, we're like 45, we're 50. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm like, dude, I don't know. You might live to be 90. You should probably figure out, you know, and what you did here is fantastically impressive because it's easy to get into the day-to-day. No, I gotta just empty the dishwasher and pick up the kids and go do this. And then I've got a quick Zoom meeting and this, and it's hard to get out of that. We all have to pay bills. We all have to deal with real life. On the other hand, at least in the movie, I think my character was kind of like, I feel like we deserve to still chase big things. And it doesn't have to be, you know, the same thing it was when we were 20. It could be a different big thing, but it's hard to find. It's like, it's not always the highs and lows. Sometimes it's just that medium that you've been living in for so long that feels like its own low. You know what I mean?
And I love the takeaway from the movie of, like, if you're not happy, I mean, it's okay not to be happy, because I think a lot of women, they get married, you know, we follow this path of like, well, we're supposed to have kids. And, you know, if we get married later, like we only have this amount of time to have kids. And then all of the milestones of like, I'm going to have a baby. I'm going to have 3 babies. And like for you had 4 kids in a short period of time. And then you go, well, what's next?
Yeah.
And like we talked about, like going out to pasture, like we're just supposed to be like, I'm middle-aged and like, am I going to go shop at Chico's now? No, like offense to Chico's, but you know, like,
I have to do myself.
There's other stuff.
No, you have to be like, I'm not done yet. I have more, I have things to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, stop playing small. It's easy to just get older and be like the extra in your kid's life, be like the Sherpa. And sometimes stop and be like, no, I can reclaim that part of me that was a dreamer at 16. And it doesn't have to be the same dream, but it can be a new dream. And I can aspire to something. Cause it's like, I don't know. I'm wired to have to like, to want something, to be, like you said, to aspire to the next thing. And granted,
challenge yourself, like constantly challenge and reinvent yourself. Well, I loved talking to you. I think you're amazing. An hour?
Like, I feel like, oh my God.
Yes, it's been an hour. I'm sorry if I ugly cried, everyone, if you're watching on YouTube. This is normal for me. I can't get through every other episode.
All of your guests usually cry too. Does everyone cry every episode?
Pretty much. A lot of them do. Yeah, I don't know, but I guess I just make people cry. But I would love for all of you to watch this beautiful movie, Blue-Eyed Girl. It's fantastic. I'm so excited for Super Troopers, which is a totally different direction.
Very different tone.
Comedy. And we need more of you. We need your voice and your talent. And we need to see you back on our screens. And it's just so refreshing to watch you because you're beautiful to watch and you're a beautifully gifted actress and a kind, wonderful person. And I'm happy to call you my friend. And so is my husband. So thank you so much for coming on. What?
So now you're going to make me cry again.
Well, it's okay. It's that's what we do. Also, in the beginning, we talked about Ashley. I need to give a shout out to Ashley because for my listeners, if you watch soaps, Ashley is also in the movie. Yeah. She makes an appearance, and Ashley Jones, and she's also a very gifted actress. So I wanted
Bold and the Beautiful. She like right now she kind of comes in and comes out, but yeah, she's been on Bold and the Beautiful forever, and Young and the Restless before that, and then she was kind enough to come in and play the ex-boyfriend's sister.
Well, I love seeing you guys both on screen together. So everyone. Take care of yourself this holiday season. I talk about it all the time. It's a really hard time of year. It's 2 days. Like we've already gotten through Thanksgiving. I know that can be challenging for people with traditions if you're going through loss. And then Christmas, and there's always new traditions. If you newly lost somebody and you're trying to avoid the holidays, make a new tradition. Do something different. So you're not sitting at home and sad. Go outside. Do something. And I'm just wishing all of you a safe and happy holiday season. And if you're struggling, it's going to be okay. It's one day, it's one holiday, and then move on to the next. And it'll be a new year before we know it. So thank you so much again for coming on.
It was wonderful to see you and get caught up.
You too. Everyone, keep going. You matter. Your story matters.
Judging Meghan with Meghan Judge.